They don't say it out loud, but you feel it. That you're the disappointment, the one who hasn't figured it out yet, the one who needs help instead of offering it. And in the silence of those glances, those passive comments, some of the comments that are never said to you, those unmet expectations, you start to wonder if you're even valuable at all. Hi, I'm Bessie, my Bessie, and this is a conversation for anyone who's ever felt like the black sheep of the family. Not because you're a rebel, not because you did something wrong, because your wallet is light. You heard me, light, meaning that there's nothing financially you're doing to contribute to the family household. You ask, what is a black sheep? I think all of us really understand what a black sheep is, right? We have that understanding of, well, because it's been put out there so much, we know what a black sheep is. But let me give you clarity on what a black sheep is. So the term black sheep comes from the literal image of a black colored sheep and a flock of white sheep. In farming, black sheep were once considered less valuable because their wool couldn't be dyed like white wool. So they stood out as different or less useful. Less useful. Over time, the term took a figurative meaning. And now, when someone is called the black sheep of the family, it typically means they are seen as different, misunderstood, or not measured up. Are you the black sheep of your family? Have you ever felt misunderstood? Different? Like you don't fit in. Like you don't even feel the need to fit in. Like the way that you are, it just doesn't work. Like it doesn't blend. I don't know if I'm making sense. Like it does not blend. Anyway, in a family context, a black sheep is usually the person who doesn't follow the expected path. Education, career, marriage, lifestyle. So you are that person that, as I read earlier, you haven't figured it out yet. You are still asking for assistance instead of offering it. You still need the financial support. You're still dependent on your family, on your siblings financially. And you're not able to do anything or contribute. And even if you do contribute, it's not as much as you would love to contribute. But you are in a position where you really can't do much. And you are considered as a burden. They may not say it to your face. They really won't probably say it to your face. I mean, there are families out there who they really can say, you are a burden to the family. And unfortunately, if that's the case, I'm really sorry that you're going through that. I'm really, really sorry. It's not an easy path, or just being a black sheep or being singled out where you feel like you don't fit in. That's something that's not easy to live, not even be or exist. It's not easy to live every day. Education wise, you are not the one that is either a doctor, a lawyer, a engineer, or whatever it is that parents have said that they deem those types of careers as successful. Really not even parents, society. And your career isn't going as they thought. I am a graduate, a graphic design graduate. I always love to use my stories because why else would I be sharing this? I am a graphic design graduate, and my career is not careering right now. I don't think it's careering. Yeah, actually, it's safe to say it's not careering. I'm not married. I'm still living with my parents at 31 years old. Guys, you know what I realized? I realized I've been telling you I'm 30. I'm not 30. I'm 31. That's mad. But anyway, moving on to the second point, you struggle financially or you don't have the same success as others. Are you struggling financially? Or are you not experiencing the same success that maybe your siblings are experiencing? You think differently Third point, you think differently or you question the family's values and traditions. Ha! Guys, when I was having my baby, there was a point where everybody came together, and everybody, I mean my mom, my dad, my sister, they were not happy with the fact that I'm not communicating with family elders that I'm pregnant. And my partner and I decided that what's the point? Personally, for me, I was just like, I don't see the point in me communicating with family members that I'm pregnant, especially if you're not contributing to my everyday life. You see, the thing is with when you are in a black families, they can be very big. And when they're big, as a child, you're expected to come forth with every information, everything that's happening in your life. That aunt, that uncle, these people that are recognized as family leaders and all the sorts. But those very people will not have or will not inform you that their child is this, that child is that, or this is happening. But they expect that of you. Not just that, there's so many other dynamics. There's so many dynamics to this family tradition and informing and whatnot. So I was pregnant and I did not want to tell family members that I'm pregnant. I also understood and learned that some of my aunts were not happy with that. And I can understand. And going back to my story, my mom, my dad, my sister basically sat me down and were like, listen, we don't understand why you don't want to communicate why you're pregnant with family members. I'm just like, well, I don't see the need to, I really don't see the need to. I'm looking at it from a spiritual standpoint. I think when you are spiritual, not even I think, when you are spiritual, you understand these things much better and you know how it works in the spiritual realm. Because the truth is, you can get people that laugh with you and they are not really wishing you well. And not to say that that's the main reason why I didn't tell people, but also let's be realistic, relationship wise. If you're going to be having relationships with people, or if you don't have relationships with people and then you're going to tell them something so sacred as being pregnant, I think for me that for me is very sacred. It's a very sacred process. It's a very sacred thing to hold. Yeah, basically growing an unborn child, you're growing a human being, and that's something that you don't take lightly. I have no problem with sharing that with my family, but I'd rather share it at a later stage. But there was this narrative that was being forced on me that I had to share it before my baby was here. That's a process. You know what? We all have choices in life, and those are things that 21st century and the way things are going right now in the world, we have choices. And with those choices, we cannot be suppressed by or forced by traditions, cultural traditions in being able to, in doing certain things. I'm going to take it back to vaccination. My dad literally gave me the shits because I did not want to get vaccinated for the COVID vaccine. And that was a thing because my dad was on me like, why aren't you getting vaccinated? You're going to get sick, this, that, and the other. And I was looking at it from a spiritual standpoint. I look at everything from a spiritual standpoint. And look at what's happening right now. People are dropping dead. If you've got that vaccine and you have underlying issues, people are literally, ever since the vaccine or people got vaccinated, I don't know if you noticed, people have been dropping dead. And you'll hear stories about how the person will say they had a headache and then all of a sudden they're gone. It's so small as that. So for me, that was the case with my pregnancy. It's something that I can choose whether I want to share it or not. Not to say that I don't want to, no. But the way that it was portrayed was, I don't want to share it. I want to share it at the level or time that I want to share it. But the time that I was expected to share it, I was not going to do that. I didn't want to do that. And that was very challenging because the conversation or the sit down with my family really turned out, it didn't turn out well. It didn't turn out well. I think when you expectations, when you expect your family to understand when certain things happen in your life, and really also it's an understanding of your own as a person, your personality. Like I said before, if you watch my previous video, I've sprung. I've sprung. And what I mean by that is I have not always been this expressive person. I've not always been vocal about what I want, how I want it. Because of me being a firstborn daughter, well, semi firstborn because my parents both brought in babies, but what I mean is from my parents' marriage, I'm the firstborn. And because I'm the firstborn, a lot of things were thrown on me. And the way that I was raised to always get things done, not speak too much. I've had experiences whereby, I was in the shop with my dad and I asked for something and I was so scared to ask for it that I kind of stalled. I stalled. And I knew that I was stalling. I stalled until we were checking out the items and he had paid. And then that's when I said, could I please have this? And my dad loudly, I'll never forget this, loudly he said, you think like a chicken. Why in the world would you wait? Actually, that is funny just having to say it to myself, but it really hurt. It broke me. He basically said to me, you wait for me to pay for these things, then you ask for something. And he said it in our language, in our native language. Well, in Setswana, yes, our native language. He says, which means, like I said, you think like a chicken. And he said it loudly, by the way. And there were people from different tellers, different checkout points that were listening. He said it loud enough that everybody else listened. And I felt so ashamed. And what that did was I never spoke up about anything from that point. I told and I vowed to myself, I think I was about 12, I vowed to myself that I would never ask for anything, no matter how much I needed it. And what happened growing up, I never asked for anything, guys. So I was that child that was always quiet, never said much, never asked for anything. Whereas my little sister was the opposite. When she wanted something, she wanted it and she wanted it now. And sometimes I got so angry at that because like she's vocal. She will say it, whether my parents had the money or not. Like she was like, I want this, and I want it now. And I grew up not asking for much, not even asking, guys. I grew up not asking. If the opportunity was there and we were at the shop and I needed something, I'd grab it, ask, can I please get this? Or if I was given the opportunity, please take whatever it is that you needed. I would take it. Fortunate enough, when I started menstruating, my mom would always make sure that I had pads. But other than that, I think I would have struggled because I would not ask. I would not vocalize my needs. And it blended into me being an independent adult. I never asked for toiletries. I'd rather ask outside, or rather ask a partner. I'd rather ask somebody outside to help me, or I'd feel more comfortable with asking somebody from outside of my parents to help me. And that's really messed up. It really is. It's a very it's not healthy, guys. It's not healthy at all. And I wouldn't want anybody else to go through that, because it bleeds into you not feeling like you can, you telling yourself that you can't depend on your own parents, you can't depend on your family. Excuse me. And that's not it. But yeah. Moving on. Family traditions. Sorry, I kind of lost. This stuff happens. So family values and traditions, and me going back to the pregnancy story, me going against sharing with my family members or elders that I was expected to share this pregnancy news with. And I was just like, I'm not going to follow those things. I'm not going to follow the family traditions, rather. I'm not saying I'm against the values of it, because that is a value, communicating, togetherness. Because ultimately, what my dad was also saying during the meeting was, I'm going to need those people. And what my sister was saying was, I can't keep, acting like you're not pregnant. I want to share the news. I want to shout at the top of my lungs and tell everybody, but you're saying I can't tell everybody, And I could understand where they were coming from. I really could. And it really was much of me to ask of them. More so my sister, because she was with what I believed was she was understanding of me, where I was coming from. But, in the meeting, it revealed that in as much as she is understanding, she's not happy about it. Because after that meeting, guys, it blew up. It blew up. I ended up saying, y'all don't get me. I don't want to have to be explaining myself to y'all. If I say, this is what I want, respect it, finished, end of story. And my dad was just like, yeah, you want that, but you're going to need that help in the end. Then what? When you get married? I mean, that's a different story. My mom then was like, yeah, I kind of understand it. Who, these elders that we have to go talk to, which kid of theirs have come to us and told us that they're pregnant or whatever news. And we have to put ourselves before them and actually tell them that you're pregnant. Like, I mean, marriage and childbirth marriage and pregnancy are two different things. So I kind of get where she's coming from. But, yeah, it ended up blowing out, and I spoke to my sister, or I said very harsh things, or my sister and I really got into a thing, and she ended up coming into my room, and she was like, I may not agree. I may support you in certain things, but it doesn't mean I have to agree. And with that being said, it doesn't mean I can't come to you and tell you about the things that I'm not happy about, because I can't do that. I can't vocalize what I'm not happy about, because I'm not going to walk on eggshells. And I really understood that. I did. So that for me was a situation where I felt different about family values and traditions in regards to my pregnancy. Moving on, the emotional sensitivity, where you are emotionally sensitive, spiritually, or you're introverted, or therefore seen as too much or too deep. I've been labeled that many times. Guys, I literally have stories for everything. This is crazy. But let me finish the explanation of the black sheep. You feel isolated even when you're surrounded by family. Do you feel isolated even when you're surrounded by family? Like, listen, I don't want I do feel isolated. I mean something that's a constant, something that no matter how hard you try. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not speaking to the person that doesn't try, then they say they feel isolated. Hey, I'm talking about the person that actually tries, and you try and you keep trying and nothing is just clicking. I'm talking about you. The person who, regardless, even from a young age, it just nothing was making sense. You just did not fit in. And you would really try. And you've tried and nothing. You're surrounded by family, but you still feel isolated. Are you that person? The black sheep is often excluded from decision making, looked down upon, or treated like you're not enough, simply because they don't fit the ideal image of success or status within the family. You don't fit. You're excluded from decision making. You're looked down upon, or you're treated like you're not enough. Even if it's done in subtle ways. I'm going to say that again. You're excluded from decision making. You're looked down upon, or you're treated like you're not enough. Even if it's done in subtle ways. Because it can be done in subtle ways. I mean, there are families where they outright say it to your face, or do things, or anything that I've shared has been done to you, or most, if not all of the things that I've shared, you've experienced. Some families can literally do it to your face without having to hide anything. And some families, they're very subtle about it, where you even, probably asking yourself right now, am I really a black sheep? I mean, this happened, but it didn't happen this way or the way that she's describing it. It wasn't so loud. It wasn't so obvious. It wasn't so this, that. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Let's get back into it, though. Let's get back into it. Being a black sheep. My question to you now is, are you a black sheep? Are you the black sheep of your family? By the way, black sheep doesn't only look like the physical things that I've described. It also shows up in the spiritual, on the spiritual side. I'm going to answer that question. Am I a black sheep? Are you a black sheep? Yes, I am a black sheep. And I've been told this before. I never understood why I felt different. I never understood why I felt like I didn't align with my family. I felt isolated. A lot of exclusions happened in the family. And whether you like it or not, these are things that you will experience. And there were points where I even tried to change my personality just so that I can be accepted, or I'd change my thoughts, my values, or the way that I see things, my perspective, just so that I could fit in. But you know what happens? It doesn't last for long. So you don't end up, you'll do it for that time, but eventually you'll go back to normal settings and you'll realize that, this is not me. So when I say that it's not only in the physical things, it's also spiritually. Because when you try and adapt a different personality or act in a way that is not you, it'll show up spiritually. You'll feel drained, you feel tired, and that obviously is letting you know, it's indicating, it's telling you that, this is not who you are. So why are you showing up this way? But yeah, guys, it's crazy. I'll get to the spiritual part so that you can understand what I mean. So just because your wallet is light, you're excluded from decision making. You're not seen as valuable. You're not seen as somebody who can offer value to the family. And most times you're not included, or discussions will happen, or even discussions will happen about you. And you won't even know. You won't even know. It's really sad, guys. Your career doesn't scream success in society's eyes. I'm not even going to talk about society. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about family because that's what black sheep really reflects immediately to family. With society, you really won't be able to pick it up. And most times, if you're having a difficult time understanding if you're a black sheep, maybe it's from a societal standpoint. But if you have a close-knit family, or if you have a family, like family that you interact with on a daily basis, especially if you're staying with your parents, you will be able to pick it up. You definitely will be able to pick it up. You're being overlooked even when you give your heart. You're being overlooked even when you give your heart. That's painful, but it's so true. Nothing that you ever give or do will be acknowledged the way that it is acknowledged by somebody who is deemed as important within the family. And also, then it extends to society. And for me, society, I still regard it as family. Society is very extensive. It's very far-fetched, far-reached. So you wouldn't be able to really tell. Whereas with family, there's your immediate family, then there's your extended family. That's also where you'll be able to see it. That's where you'll be able to pick it up. So your career, just because your career doesn't scream success, just because you're not what your family deems as successful, or your wallet is light, or you're not able to, contribute financially. These are things that really affect the way that people see you. Let's talk about the pain of being seen less than. in your own family. And the quiet power God is building in you while nobody's watching. This is where the spiritual part comes in now. So, when financial power equals to family power, let's be honest, money speaks. And in families, sometimes it screams. Actually, not even sometimes. It always screams. Money talks, guys. There's that talk, that saying. What's that saying? Money talks, bullshit walks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, use that language, but money talks, bullshit walks. It's not just, out in the streets. It applies most and most painful. It's most painfully applied. It's most painfully applied in family. Money definitely talks. It talks, guys. It talks. You could be the most helpful, kind-hearted, present sibling. But if you're not making money, who are you? Even the things that you are doing, even if you are so hands-on, I am the sibling so it's 4 of us in our family. Like I explained earlier, or told you guys earlier, that my parents came with kids. So we're a blended family. My mom came with a daughter, my dad came with a son. And out of my parents' marriage, it's myself and my sister. So all in all, it's the 4 of us. And within our family home, it's myself, it's my sister, and it's my mother and my father. Whereas my sister that my mom came with stays in South Africa, and my brother that my dad came with stays in a different place in Francistown in Botswana. And I'm the sibling that went to school, did graphic design, very ambitious. I'm very ambitious. I still say it. I'm very ambitious. Wanted things because I grew up not asking. I would always go out there and get things done myself. And fortunate enough, when I started varsity, we had the opportunity to, your fees gets paid for you by the government, and then they also give you an allowance. So I was surviving off of allowance. So things such as toiletries, I didn't have to ask. I really didn't have to ask for anything outside of using my mom's car. So fortunate enough, where my mom worked and where my university was very close. So most times I would drop her off at work, and because we had my niece, my sister's firstborn, she was still living with us, Melissa. She was still living with us, and I would drop my mom off at work, and then I'd drop off Melissa at school. And fortunate enough, all of this, my mom's work, my niece's school, and my university was in the same area. So that was great because I had the opportunity to drive to school, and when it was time, I really wasn't using public transport. So transport really wasn't a thing for me because I knew how to drive. So I really just needed my mother's car. That's it. That's the most that I would ask for. I was still pouring petrol into it when I could, but at least I wasn't having to worry, or I wasn't really asking. I wasn't asking for much, and that's how I survived university days because I had an allowance from the government, so I was able to buy certain things, pay for certain things on my own. That was great. And then university ended. After university ended, I graduated as a graphic design. Mind you, I'm still not settled with graphic design. I did it 2017, I graduated, still not settled, didn't like it. I did graphic design because it was the only thing that was there at school, rather available with the points that I had. And I initially wanted event management, but I was told that the class was full. Only for a few weeks after starting university, half of the people that had enrolled in that course did not even show up. And this information found me, by the way. So I was just like, wow, God. But clearly you have a reason for me doing graphic design. So I ain't even gonna sweat it. But still, it wasn't that easy because just going through school was really tough. I think the beautiful thing about having to go to school and go into a course that I didn't want, as crazy as that sounds with me saying it's beautiful, I learned a new skill. One, I still use it now. And even with what I'm doing right now, I need to know those skills. And I'm so grateful that I have a basic understanding. I'm not saying I'm a genius at it. I'm an expert. Shout out to Colin. He's the one that's an expert who really helped me with most of my assignments and Karabo. But at least I know what graphic design is like, because with what I am doing, you need to have a lot of graphics going on. Everything is communicated. Everything online is communicated with graphics, especially with what I am doing. So I have the basic knowledge at least, and I'm grateful for that. And also having met the people that I met and the experiences that I went through with going through graphic design and doing the course. It was actually really, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it. But mostly, I'm really, really grateful for the lady that I met. When we had to do our internship, because I knew that graphic design is not something I'm going to do. I had no intention of wanting to do it. And I was struggling because I was scared that I didn't have enough knowledge to be out in the market and working for an organization or a company or a business or a person and having to provide, graphic design services to them. I wasn't confident in the skill that I had. I wasn't confident in being able to share that skill for it to actually do something. And most of the times when I was doing this, whatever graphics I was doing for myself, I felt like it was very different from everybody else. Colin always used to say to me, Bessie, stop using cursive fonts. Stop doing this, stop doing that, stop doing that. But I loved it. I loved it so much. And I felt like my style just didn't match, and it wasn't going to be accepted in the market in the way that maybe it would be accepted, if I loved a different style of doing graphic design, because that thing is, it really speaks, your style, your personality really reflects, because you gravitate more towards certain designs or, doing certain things. And sometimes it would really be hard it is hard to execute certain designs because it's not speaking to you, I think also the other beautiful thing is that I went into something creative, because that speaks more to my spirit. It speaks more to my soul, as compared to if I had to do something more intellectual, like law, like whatever it could be, where I had to read. I don't think that would have really resonated with me. That I would have really struggled. But rather I went into something that drew out of me, like it really required me to draw out of myself, because most times before I had to engage into doing something, I had to ensure that I'm aligned, so that I'm able to draw and use my creativity. Because using your creativity, if you're creative, you understand what I mean. You really have to draw from within to be able to execute and share something, because that's sharing a part of yourself. And it's not something that you just randomly do. Like if you learn something, more, intellectual is not the word, guys, where it's more, everything is book theory, where you learn theory. Whereas creativity is practical. You have to really draw something out of yourself to do it. Not saying that if you've done theory, you don't have to draw from yourself. No, that's not what I'm saying. But the creatives understand what I'm talking about. And I'm grateful for that I actually got into something that did that. And it really required me to extract a lot of the times. So this lady, I went for internship. I was struggling. And then one of the people, acquaintances that I knew from school, she was like, listen, there's this lady, internship period came, and I was stuck because I was like, I don't even know where the crap I'm going to go. My good friends, Colin and Karabo, they were set. They knew where they were going. really the group that I was with, I also hung out with boys. Like I literally just hung out with boys because I felt more comfortable, and also because I went to most of the classes. I was in a course with them, so I was literally with them 24/7. So they knew where they were going, and I was scared because I was like, if I don't do internship, I'm not going to pass my course and I'm not going to graduate. And then what's going to happen? So last minute, as God would have it, he then sent one of these acquaintances that I was telling you guys about. She came and she was like, listen, there's a lady who's looking for somebody to do graphics. She would be you'd be if you're interested. And she came directly to me, by the way. Like she came to me. We don't speak that much, we don't speak that much. But she came to me and she's like, listen, there's a lady who's looking for a graphic designer to work with her internship. Obviously, internship, it's free. So I was like, yeah, sure. I was skeptical. I was like, okay, I hope it's not so intense. I hope these people and this lady is not going to require me to be doing like graphics all the time. I was so scared because I didn't know what to expect. And obviously I was scared because I was not confident in my skill, and I didn't want to not intern and not pass and not graduate. You know what I mean? So I went to go meet her. After meeting her, she basically shared, yeah, I'm looking for a graphic designer, this, that, and the other. And this is what my business does. And this is the help that I need. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll help you out. A few weeks after starting with her, my role changed from graphic design to actually helping her with her business. Mind you, I started the course that I did it because, one, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what it is that speaks to me. I didn't know what course or career I wanted to get into. I was confused because I never took the time to really understand that. Or rather, let me say, there were a lot of things in my life that really felt very passive, and just going about school was very passive as well. I struggled with school. And for those of you that don't know, I actually repeated standard 6. And I survived because my parents spoke to the principal and they said, listen, give her a chance, she'll do good. Sorry guys, that's my dog. So give her a chance, she'll do good. And that's how I got into standard 6 with my other classmates. And I just felt like everything was maybe I didn't give myself the attention. Also, I didn't know that I needed to give myself the attention. Or maybe my parents didn't pick that up because they were busy. My parents didn't pick that up because they were busy making money, going through having to provide for us as a family. And even just having to need the help, struggling. They never really gave attention to me struggling at school. Like, they never saw it as a thing. They were just like, why are you struggling? Why aren't you smart? Why aren't you smart as your sister? What's going on? So I needed that extra attention, but unfortunately I couldn't get it because they were so busy trying to provide for us. And then it went into university and I struggled. I remember calling my cousin whilst I was whilst I was choosing a course, when I had chosen the university that I was going to. I remember I called her and I was like, I don't know. I was crying. I was like, I don't know what to choose. I'm struggling so much. I don't know what to do. And after talking to various lecturers from different departments, I narrowed down my search to 2 courses, which were graphic design and event management. And unfortunately, event management, I was told, is full, so I can't even get into that. And then I went to graphic design. I spoke to the lecturer. The lecturer was really nice, and he was like, listen, I know you've shared your story, you've shared how you're struggling, where your struggles are, but I think you should give it a shot. And then that's how I ended up at graphic design. But what I'm mostly grateful for is this lady who, like I said, my role shifted from graphic design to helping her. So she runs a a business. It's called Career Coaching Botswana. Man, that lady, that is so crazy. That's the reason I was even telling you the story of my struggle with choosing a course. I go work for a lady who helps kids figure out, who helps kids in Form 3 or going into Form 5, going into their last year of high school and about to step into university. I helped her go out. She had outreach programs. She offered services where if you're struggling with career guidance, basically she would help you with that and should provide those services. She had an office, and her office was very youthful. I guess maybe also the building that she was at, it was also very youthful, filled with a lot of young people doing different things, and being in that environment, it was everything. It was great because it opened my eyes to a different world of how things happen. And I went with her. I became a facilitator because when she would go to these schools, these different organizations, so she worked with schools and organizations. I guess the organizations were to provide her more capacity in financial wise, and also resources for her to be able to do these outreach programs. But her main focus was going to schools, especially schools where kids were less fortunate or could not afford her services. So she provided it. This lady, Lillian Moremi. I am what I am now, and in the way that I see life, because of her. In the way that I see myself, because of her. She coached me. And I'd go to these schools, I'd go to these organizations with her, and I basically became a facilitator. I learned as much as I could. She taught me as much as I could. And because I loved it, and it's something that resonated very deeply with me because I struggled with that myself. So she didn't even have to ask me to learn most of the things. I went out of my way to learn these things because the pain was so great that I didn't even want somebody else or another child to experience that, because it's painful, guys. It's confusing. It can really make you feel like your world is not making sense. So I went out of my way to learn these things so that I could equip the next child not to go through, with everything they needed, not to go through what I had to go through. And this is actually a challenge, a problem that I know a lot of young people face. I'm not too sure now, because now the world is shifting. The world is shifting because now we've got the internet, and you can learn a lot of things through the internet. You get to discover yourself much earlier than kids maybe in my time. You get to discover yourself and learn a lot of things about yourself earlier on than the disadvantage that maybe I and many other kids or young adults maybe had to face. And it was an experience. I went to government schools, I went to private schools, but mostly government schools because they didn't have the resources. And you have those career days. I mean, private schools, they really didn't. School organizes that for you, and you have these private universities come set up stalls and tell you all about that. The money was there. But with the government school, it was much different because their parents don't have the money to be able to engage a career coach to help them navigate, their career life and what they want it to look like, what it is that they want to do, what they want to get into, what speaks closest to them. And with the practices that she did, they required you to extract a lot from yourself so that you can understand what are your strengths, what your weaknesses are. And also with that, with what you learn at school, the system, the curriculum system, and also not just restricted to the curriculum system. It was also, she even extended it to spiritual. So we helped people, young kids, to understand better, to understand careers better. Because sometimes there's a career that you don't even know, you don't even know about it. You have no information about it, but it's for you. Because you really haven't taken the time to understand your own personality. Most of us are walking around and we don't even understand our own personality. We think we understand based on what other people tell us, but we haven't taken the time to really understand self. Or okay, or we're not even strong enough, or you really don't even have the knowledge to say, I like this, I don't like this. This is how I am. You know what I mean? Not to say that that should be your excuse for you to act a certain way, be a certain way. No, that's not what I'm saying. But most of us are walking around, even adults, they don't really know who they are. They don't. And if they do, they are too afraid to do something about it, or to express it, or to be it. And I facilitated, guys. I facilitated, and things just went so great. As the devil would have it. Life at home was not great. So I was doing the cleaning at home. That was my responsibility. I would have to wake up at 6. I would go to school, because internship is like you're going to work. It's basically that, you're going to work. Because attendance is also marked, performance is marked, all these things are marked, right? So I'd wake up at 6, make sure I clean the house, and then I'd go to my internship, come back at like 4:30, 5, depending on how busy it was. And I just felt like, every time I'd leave, I'd be so happy. I was the happiest, because I felt like I was going to a space that understood me, that it was shining light into what felt like darkness. Then I'd go home and things were dark, and my parents were not happy. They felt like, they were just like, what are you doing? And then that's when I developed this thing of not communicating. Like, I don't tell my parents what's happening in my life. Like, they wouldn't know what's happening in my life. And I found peace in that, because the more people know, the more they want to know, and the more they want to dictate how things should happen in your life. Silence is a very powerful tool, guys. It's a powerful tool, especially when you don't share things that you feel like, if I share this, I'm giving you the power to let me know or dictate to me how things should be done, especially with parents. So I never shared a lot of the things. My parents knew I was interning. They knew that Lillian, but they didn't really know what I was doing. And I was okay with that. It brought me a lot of peace. But I was so troubled, because I had to wake up extra early to make sure that household chores are taken care of. And I felt like a slave. I did. I really felt like a slave. Not to say that I was ignoring my responsibilities. Also, the other thing is, I'm not that child that you have to push to get something done. I would get it done, because I don't like to be shouted at. I don't like the noise of, you didn't do this. I don't like to be shouted at, guys. I don't like those debuts. I don't like them at all. So I would just do things before it's even talked about, just so that it's taken care of. But one way or the other, trouble would still find me. I'd still get shouted at for something, and that troubled me so much. It troubled me so much, because at home everything felt dark, but when I went out and I went to go to the office, I felt this light that just, I didn't want to end. And then internship ended, and I was like, where am I going to go? I have this internship ended, graduation happened, and I was just like, where am I going to go with this? I don't want to do this. And Lillian was kind enough to say, listen, come on over, come continue work with me. I'll give you a little something, not much, but it's not like a salary, but it's something that will at least help you to do this and that, to buy your toiletries and that. And I was like, I will take it. And that opened up my eyes, guys. From being a facilitator, now I really started to work with her more aggressively. And I learned so much. She taught me so much. She taught me a lot about myself. in just how she carried herself. I learned a lot about myself from her gentleness. And gentleness is something I never experienced, not even from my parents. And she was very gentle with me. She was very gentle in the way that she showed up for me. And she taught me so many things about myself, about business, in the things that I saw, in the way that she went about things. She also really taught me a lot about how to show up in the world and the importance of how to show up in the world and the different ethics. I learned so much about the outside world from her. She was like a big sister that literally took me under her wing and showed me everything that she knew. Yeah. And that contributed to my adulthood. It contributed to the person that I am. My gentleness, my spirituality, who I show up as in the world, the way that I think, the way that I see things. And from working with her, I then went and opened my own events business. I worked with different people. God graced me with bringing clients, because it's one thing to open a business, but if you're not getting any business, then what's the point? But God graced me with clients that they would always find, it would always happen. And most of these clients, who they come from? From Lillian. And I went from being a facilitator, I became an event, because also being a facilitator means you have to coordinate things. Like, you go to these schools, before you even get to the school, it's like a whole event. It's a whole event planning, because it really is an event. You schedule a time with the school to go there. You literally plan out there's a floor plan. You arrange tables, material, all of it. Like, you arrange the flow of traffic, how many kids you can have, how many kids you speak to a minute. Like, she was so organized that it literally, I discovered that I like that. Outside of, or on top of me speaking to kids and giving them the little information and the information that she shared with me about careers and how to go about it, the additional, the cherry on top was the organization of these events. And because we would have about nothing less than 200 kids per school, where you are managing that flow, and you're doing it in 2 hours. They give you 2 hours to do it. So you have to manage that flow. That's an event on its own. So I learned those skills from her, and I was like, this is something I actually want to do. And I want to help other people. I want to help small business owners, that young adult who wants to get into selling merchandise and they don't know how to engage, or they don't know how to connect with an audience, or they want to start selling and they don't know how to go about it. I'd find myself, I remember there's a young lady who I worked with, and she was doing makeup, and I didn't charge her much. I was like, listen, I'm willing to provide my services to you, and then you could make this happen. And she brought together an event. Her and I brought together this event where she partnered with a local makeup company or business, and she basically was teaching people how to do their makeup. And that was great. It felt good. And I did that for other people as well. It wasn't just with small business owners, even people who had successful businesses as well. And that grew. I did it for about 3-4 years. And then I went into employment. From going into employment, and then I went into concierge. And I did concierge because there was no job, so I had to make money somehow. So I've learned a lot of things through these different experiences. Through these different experiences, I feel like I am now just going on a tangent and I'm not focused on what I need to talk about here. But anyway, going back to when financial power equals to family power, and how being a black sheep, or not giving in, or not contributing financially the way that you're supposed to, what it actually does. And you see it in how decisions are made without you, how you feel, and how your voice is skipped over, and how you hear it in those subtle comparisons with your siblings. especially the younger ones who seem to have it all together. That's my situation. My sister has it all together. My younger sister has it all together. My younger sister moved out at 23. She's 24, turning 25. She moved out at 23, and she's a lawyer. She stays on her own. Her life is progressing, and I don't have to dig for the information. I see it in the way that, my parents, treat her and treat me. I'm not faulting her. I notice these things. I recognize them. I see them. And I'm sure if you are in the same situation, you see it too. Your contribution doesn't weigh the same. It can never be the same. It really can't be the same. And even if you help out, it's not celebrated. I remember I went out and there was no food in the house, and I went out and I went to go buy something. And my dad was just, it's whatever. But then whenever my sister would go out and do something, she was celebrated. My dad would praise her. And that's when I was like, wow, okay. So I started noticing that, from a young age, and I was just like, okay, well, it is what it is. It is what it really is. And that's really sad, guys. Even in as much as I'm saying it is what it is, it's sad. It's not something that you take and you live with and you're okay. Obviously not. You can never be okay with that. But yeah. Suddenly your life feels like it's in the hands of others. You rely on parents, you rely on siblings, and in return you give time, service, and help. But that's not what's honored in your household. Undermined, undervalued, unseen, sorry. It's a painful position, not just to be broke, but to be broken down. The looks, the tone, the way people speak to you, like you're not capable, like you don't have the knowledge, you're not educated, you didn't go to school to do this course, so you wouldn't have the knowledge on this, that, the other. Funny enough, I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of things when I got out of university, and things that I felt an educated person would have. I don't know. What am I trying to say? What I'm basically trying to say is I learned a lot of things about the way the world works as compared to the educational side of, having the knowledge to do this, that, and the other. I think I'm more street smart than book smart, if that makes sense, because of how I've had to navigate life. My navigation of life has taught me being street smart as compared to having the knowledge to certain things. I don't know if maybe that's your experience as well. The way people speak to you like you're not capable, like your future is a charity case waiting to happen. Like your dreams are just distractions. My dreams. That's how I felt, actually. I felt like my parents were just like, yo, when are you getting a job? Whenever I tell them I want to start a business, I want to do this, I want to do that. When are you getting a job? Get a job. This whole do this, that is not going to provide for you. So get a job. And if your career isn't recognized, forget it. Because my parents would just be on some, why aren't you doing graphic design work? Why don't you do that? And inside, I'm like, I don't even want to do graphic design. Like, that's something I'm not doing. I'm not doing that. Try telling someone you're a freelancer, a creative, a coach, a dreamer. They'll look at you like you've lost your mind. Like, what do you say? Get a job, a real job. And you can't blame parents, guys. You really can't. They grew up where there was one road to success, and that road was go to school, get a job, and work. And that's how you'll be able to provide for yourself. So you can't blame them. And then also you can't blame them because the reality is, I'll talk about this in a video actually that I'm going to be doing, that's going to be dropping on Monday. The reality of living your dream or fulfilling your assignment, it takes time. And what usually happens is the way that maybe the internet shows us, they say it's the easiest path, just do it and it'll make sense and you'll be successful. No, that's not how it works. We have to be smart about this. Like, fulfilling your assignment is something that is it's very deep. It's very sensitive. It takes a lot and requires a lot from you. So it's not something that you just immediately walk into the park and then it just happens and everything is good. No, you have to really go through it. And most times you find that it's not going to pay you. It won't pay the bills. It won't help you to survive, to succeed. And usually that's where parents are just like not understanding. You want to follow this dream. What dream are you talking about? Is this dream going to put food on the table? It's not putting food on the table. So why are you even doing it? They would rather have you go do that job so that you can provide for yourself. Now, the smart way is if you plan it all out, if you decide, okay, I'm going to go get that job so that I can provide for myself and then spend the time where I'm not at work fulfilling that assignment. That's the smart way of doing it, Quite frankly, it's the realistic way of doing it, because most people are not doing things that they love. They're really not. They're doing it because it puts food on the table. And you'll hear old people tell you how they are not happy, but they did it because it puts food on the table. And if they leave it, what then? So that's why this whole narrative of living your dream is so stained with elders, because they're just like, why are you even going through that? Why are you putting yourself through that? Why are you even going to entertain that? Because when we're gone, how are you going to survive? You know what I mean? So we have to understand from that as well. And that's why I'm saying you also have to be smart in the way that you do it, Meanwhile, God is building something deep inside you. Telling somebody that I'm a freelancer, I'm a creative, I'm a coach, all these things that you aspire for, that you want, that is really connected to your assignment. But the thing about going through your assignment is you're going to go through tests. And then the other thing is you cannot get a testimony unless you go through a test. And what your assignment does, it places you through a test first so that you can actually have a testimony. And most times your assignment is your testimony. Does that make sense? So if you want to fulfill your assignment, find your purpose. Be ready to go through tests or a test. That will ultimately, your assignment or your purpose will show up as your testimony. That is the whole concept of it, guys. And like I was saying in my video, there's a reason for your season. Please check it out. And the podcast on Substack. And like and subscribe if you love this content. Before you even ask God for anything, be prepared for the purpose of you going through that season, the purpose of whatever it is, the testing of you receiving whatever it is that you're asking for. Be prepared for that. It's the same thing as fulfilling your assignment. And that's the thing that we don't see and understand when it comes to really fulfilling your assignment or finding your purpose. Because in the midst, physically, it looks like you're doing nothing. Meanwhile, you know that God is building something deeper inside you. But to them, you're just around the house. You're just there. You're just available. You're not doing anything. Hey, this one, she stays at home with us. I stay at home with my parents, guys. Both my parents are retired. I stay at home with my parents, So I'm also in the family, they know me to be the kid that does not work. I don't work. So I'm always home. I'm always available. If something needs to be done, if my dad needs to send me, I'm the one that goes, And they ask you for everything. They literally ask you for everything. Go do this, go do that, because it is assumed you have nothing better to do. You have nothing better. Even if you tell them, listen, but I'm trying to learn this skill. You'll learn it later. Go do the thing that I need you to go do. Why? Because you stay underneath their roof. You still eat the food that they buy. You depend on them. This roof over your head is because of them. So until you get out and go find your own roof, then you can start doing the things that you want to do. And that's painful. But it's the reality. It's the reality. But deep down, you know that God is preparing you for something bigger. And sometimes it's so easy for you to even forget, or for you even to stay consistent with that thought, or stay consistent with that thing and see it through, because you're just like, is it even worth it with all the backlash I'm getting physically, with all the backlash I'm getting, from my surroundings? Is it even worth it? Yeah. You become the runner. I'm the runner of the family, guys. Oh, we need this to get it done. Mabisi will do it. My dad literally said one time, if you need something to be done, Mabisi will do it. Mabisi is the best person to get it done. Why am I the best person? Because I'm always available. That's why. That is why. That to the point where even when I was working, I didn't tell my parents what I was doing. They just saw that I was working. And I used to drive GP vehicle with GP plates, and my dad, he never would ask. He wouldn't ask the question, like, "What? Where are you? What's happening, guys?" I wasn't doing anything dodgy. So my dad was just like, he was probably asking himself that question, but he would never ask me. I'd come with these different expensive cars, and my dad would not say anything. He wouldn't ask. He would go to the gate to go see. Say, for example, if I had to fetch something from the house, he would go to the gate and go see him, or act like he's going to the gate and see, or, oh, okay, what's happening here? He wouldn't ask me nothing. And then I realized my mom would tell me, Horia, your dad was asking 1, 2, 3, 4. So he would go to my mother and ask instead of actually come to me and ask. But yeah. And then to the point, when you start now working, they're just like, what is this person doing? What are they doing that's valuable? Guys, it gets to the point where they don't see value in you, that even when you provide value for other people, they doubt that value that you're providing, and they downplay it, or they overlook it, or they're asking themselves probably internally, what is this child even doing? And when you say no, yeah. When you say no, I can't do that. Whoo! You're ungrateful, difficult, selfish. You'll be told everything. Everything. You'll be told how you're not even, you have no say because you're underneath my roof. So you'll do as I say. And until you get out, if you want to get out, get out. But because you're underneath my roof, you're going to do the things that I say you should do. And when I say that you should do them, whether you've got something going on or not. I remember one time I was working, guys, because I share a car with my mother. I was working, and I'd usually take the car. So I was working, and my dad was in Soro at the time, and he needed a water pipe so urgently. So he called my mother, and my mother's like, well, I don't have the car. Mabisi has it. But I'm working. So what I'll do is I'd go to my boss's workplace, drop off my parents' car, and then I'd use theirs. So that when I'm done with whatever I'm doing, I basically come back. And my mother would want it that way. She'd be like, listen, I don't want to pick you up and drop you off, so take the car. So this one day, my dad needs a water pump, and he calls my mom. My mom tells him, Mabisi has the car. Cool. My dad calls me. At the time, I was with my partner. My dad calls me, and he's like, well, your mom tells me that you have the car. I need this water pump now. I need it done now. I'm like, well, I'm working. He's like, I don't care. Oh my gosh. I don't care, but okay. I don't care. You have the car. So if you can get it, and mind you, I'm doing work stuff. And this work stuff that I'm doing is also time limited. And then here my dad is telling me, I need this water pump now. I used my boss's car to run the thing, to do the very things that my dad needed me to do. And, I was just telling my partner this. Do you see what I'm talking about? I really don't get why. And the question that I would ask myself, and I don't know if you ask yourself this question if you're in the very situation that I'm in right now. Why am I still in this position? It's not like you're lazy. It's not like you don't want, It's not like if an opportunity was provided to you, a job opportunity was provided to you, you wouldn't take it, or you're not knowledgeable. And then the other thing is you'll apply for jobs and you won't get them. This is what I'm talking about, the spiritual side. You will apply for jobs you are qualified for, sometimes even overqualified. There was a point where I was applying for jobs that I was overqualified for, because the ones that I thought I was qualified for, they kept telling me, unfortunately, we're going with somebody else. So I would apply for lower positions and still, and guys, ooh, yeah. I ran these errands, I did what I did, and helped my dad out. Only for a few days later, that thing is not even used. That water pump is not even used. But my dad instilled, that's the other thing, he will instill fear for you to do something urgently for him. And I'm stubborn. Not a trait I'm proud to admit, especially if it's not the good stubborn, because there's good and bad stubborn. I'm stubborn, and that's where now I started to exercise my stubbornness even more. Because I just felt like I was always just being, a puppet. Go this way, go that way. I felt like my life was that. And sometimes I'll just be on some, no, I don't want to do it. Not doing it. And that's also where the ungrateful, difficult, selfish, you don't listen, disrespect. There's also the disrespect. You're disrespectful. You don't even have anything. We're the ones that feed you. You don't have anything for yourself. Guys. The weight of your confidence, this basically affects the way you see yourself, the confidence that you have in your self-worth. It affects you. It weighs on your self-confidence. It weighs on your self-worth. You start questioning your own value. You start asking yourself, am I even valuable? Like, do I have anything of value to give? Because it just feels like my life is in other people's hands. And no matter how hard I try to do things differently, nothing will change, or nothing can change, because my life is basically in the hands of others. I don't have the control to do anything. You start doubting your gifts. You start asking yourself, is it even worth it? Like I was saying, you start asking yourself, is it even worth me doing this, pursuing this thing that literally just feels like it's just bringing negativity, it's bringing challenge after challenge after challenge, and it does not end. If it's not from family, it's spiritually. If it's not spiritually, it's other people. You start fighting with people. You fight externally. In the midst of you fighting externally, you're also fighting internally. And that's too much to deal with, guys. You start comparing yourself to others. I start comparing myself to my sister. The other day, my sister came, not even the other day, I think was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. My sister came, she has an iPhone 16. She lives in her own place. She's about to move to the place that I was telling her I want to move to. And she's about to basically own a car the way that I wanted to own it, or rather the way in regards to owning foreign plates. And fortunately, she's got a partner who stays in South Africa, so all these things are possible because of that, and also through her hard work, obviously. And I just, in the midst of all these things that are happening in my life, I just felt like, when is it going to happen for me? When is it going to happen for me? The comparison starts. Where I look at other people, I look at myself, and I'm like, I'm not good enough. This is happening for this person. And when is it going to happen for me? Yeah. And your confidence, it slowly crumbles. But what keeps me confident is being able to come before you guys and talk to you and be able to share these things, because it's starting to feel like all these things, experiences that I've gone through from, you know, even as early as childhood to now, these are things that can allow me or are allowing me to come before you and talk to you, because I have so many experiences to share. So many experiences to share. And not just, like I said in my previous videos, not just surface level things, like deep things, where you remember when earlier I was saying you're regarded as you're too deep. Yeah, I'm always regarded as too deep. So I believe I have experiences that are for the too deep people, and I know you're here because you probably have been categorized as too deep as well, by your family, by your friends. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. Your own family can't even see your own worth, and you start wondering if it's even there, because everything starts with family, especially if you live with it. Everything starts with family. You start to ask yourself, am I even worthy? Do I even have something worthy of value to give to the world? And that affects you, because you start to now operate as if you don't have those gifts, as if you don't have value, as if God didn't place something in you, as if God didn't create you to do something. Because the reason why you're here is because God knows exactly why he's brought you. There's a specific, very specific thing that God has designed you to do, to execute on this world. Very specific. So if you're questioning your value, if you're questioning your worth, if you're questioning whether you have those gifts, or if you even have a gift, you do. The thing is, we are too lazy to extract that gift. We're too lazy to focus and give it time. And it will require time. It will require you to spend hours, years on that thing, just so that you can, one, understand it, two, perform it or do it to the point where you have an understanding of it. I don't know if that makes sense. And most times you're going to have to do it over and over and over again. And most times we want things as human beings. We want the quick fix. We want the instant gratification. We want the thing that, doesn't require us to put in so much work, to keep going, to be resilient, even if it doesn't work out, to keep trying. We don't want all of that. We want just, hit it, got it, good, great. But that's not how it is. And that's how most of us give up. And that's how you question whether you have something valuable to give. But here's the truth. Because there's always the truth. Life would not exist if there wasn't truth. Because the one that we're living right now is filled with a lot of lies. But the thing is, the truth eventually comes out. It's so, you'd think that the world is very scientific, but it's not. The world is not scientific. The world can be easily manipulated in the way that we design it, especially through systems. It's very easily manipulated through systems. But what ends up happening is, because this is the world, things can be manipulated through different procedures and systems. What ends up reigning, or what reigns over everything, is the spiritual. And that is why no matter how much you try and manipulate to keep the truth from coming out with whatever situation it is in your life, it will always come out. And it'll always come out when you think you've done it all. Your smallest thing will literally it'll show you. The truth will come rolling down. Sometimes it doesn't even have to come rolling down. Step by step, it'll reveal things and the truth will eventually come out. That's why this world, even as much as you think is very physical and surface, it's not. The one that has great power is God. Your value was never tied to your financial status. Your value is not tied to your financial status. That is the truth. And the world convinces you that it is. Your family will convince you that it is. Then we extend it to society, because society worships those who have the financial status through the different treatment that they get when they walk into certain establishments, if not all. In the way it's society is the one that also greatly it does the final job, but the initial job is done by your family or whoever that you have that's close to you. That's where it starts. Society is just based on what has already been. Obviously, what has already been by the people closest to you, and most times that's family. It was never tied to how visible your career is. It's not tied to that. That's just an addition. I mean, the reason why your career is so visible is based on, like I said, whatever it is that you're doing that's seen, recognized, right? Recognition. That's how the reason why there's visibility is because there's recognition. It was never tied to how loud your contribution is. No. When you have weddings, when you have funerals, when you have family unions, it's not tied to you taking out 100,000 for that thing, even though it's not necessary. It's not tied to that. It's not tied to anything external, because you're seen by God. Even though your physical, your family, the people that you knew and you know, even though they don't recognize it, they don't see it, you are seen by God. And his eyes don't skip you. His eyes will never skip you. He sees everything. That's why he knows and sees all things. The Bible even tells you that he knows and sees all things. In fact, he assigned you, like I was saying, he assigned you in a quiet role in the family that carries more weight than they will even know. We're going down to the spiritual part now. Sorry guys, this is a really long video. My mentor showed me, she explained to me, she's the one who gave me understanding and told me that most black sheeps are interceders. You'll become an interceder. That's what will happen. You will intercede on behalf of your family. And that's where the spiritual aspect comes in. So the interceder nobody acknowledges. Let's talk about the spiritual role here. You are playing a spiritual role. You pray for your family. You carry them in intercession. What is an interceder? An interceder is somebody who prays on behalf of others. That's what an interceder is. You pray on behalf of your family. You pray on behalf of your husband. You pray on behalf of your wife. You pray on behalf of... That's what an interceder is. You're not just praying for yourself, but you're praying for others. And it's something that naturally happens, by the way. It doesn't always... You're not asked to do it. You take it upon yourself. Or rather, God deposits it in you for you to do it. You speak life over them when they're not around. You are the one, because you're a runner and you do everything, you know everything. That's the other thing. The benefits of being a black sheep. You know everything. You know everything that's happening. You know what's happening with this person, that person, and the other person, because you're involved even when you don't want to be involved in things. You're pulled into things. You're told things. You're instructed to do things for others. So you know things. And what ends up happening is you end up praying on behalf of these people with the struggles that they have. You speak life over them in the situations that they're going through. You also find solutions. I mean, sometimes it's not because you have the choice, because you're expected to do things because you're the runner, you're always available. But also, you find solutions because you want to, because that's your family. You do that for them. You find those solutions for them. You war for their peace, even when they treat you like they're the problem. You find ways to bring peace, to solve problems. And even if you don't have the physical capacity or the financial capacity to solve those problems, the greatest gift that God has given you, that He's given you access. He gave up His only child so that you have direct access through prayer. And what not being financially fluent has taught me, or fluid has taught me, is that the one thing that I have is that I can pray, because we cannot trust in. And then that's the other thing. When you are a black sheep, you really rely on God, because you can't trust men. Men, I mean princes, I mean human beings, not just the gender. You can't trust men. Even the Bible tells you that you can't place your trust in princes, in men of this world, who's the same as you. You can't put your trust in them. And when you don't have the physical capacity, the financial capacity, which most problems are solved financially, so we think, or are programmed to think, you go to the only solution that you know will work. The person that you know they will provide, even if it's not now, even if it's not tomorrow, even if it's not the next day, even if they do it in 2 weeks, even if God does it in 2 weeks, even if God does it in a month, you know that you can go to someone who can help you with the problem. And not just temporarily, because money also does that. Sometimes the challenge or the problem isn't about money. It's really about the mindset of the person or whatever the situation is. But when you go to God because you know that the solution will end. I mean, the problem will end. It's not just having to cut grass or cut roots or weeds. Going to God is actually plucking the weed with its root so that you don't have the problem again. You know what I mean? You are the interceder. You intercede. You're the silent warrior. Even though it looks like you're not doing much, because you will feel like you're not doing anything at all. In spirit, you're holding things together. And I'd always say to my parents, when I leave, you guys are going to struggle. You guys, are you going to miss me? And they'll be like, when you leave, you leave. And that hurt me. Like whenever I'd say that just to see how they would react, because I was trying to convince myself that I am important, I am important because I'm doing something else. I'm not contributing financially, but I really wanted that recognition from them. But unfortunately, I realized that the recognition will only come financially, because when you do things financially, that's when they'll recognize you. Yeah. So I'd say those things. When I go, you guys, are you going to miss me, or you guys are going to struggle, da, 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 da. And the response or the recognition, the reaction that I'd get, or the recognition that I'd want, I wouldn't get it. And then I just had to stop, because I was hurting myself in the process of doing that, of seeking for this recognition. Not important. You're standing in the gap. You're protecting what they don't even see is under threat. You're the one crying out to God on their behalf, and yet you feel like a nobody. So the next time you actually feel, especially if you're a black sheep and you're a praying black sheep, most of them are. Most black sheeps they're very spiritual, because they don't have anybody else physically to rely on. So you learn very quickly that you have to rely on God, and that is your option. And it becomes an only option out of choice, because it becomes an option because you have no other options when you start. And then you learn what it can be my only option. Only option, because I can't rely on anything else or anyone else. Especially with the way things happen in our lives. It's very different from the way things happen for other people. So you learn very quickly that you rely on God, and you only rely on Him. And you end up, you're very spiritual. You learn a lot of things as well from a very early age, spiritually. And Guys, I even went on a fast. The 25-day fast that I was telling you about in my video was to break generational curses. Who in the world would go on a fast, put themselves through torture? Because the other thing that happens when you go through fasts like that is that you are going to be fighting, and you will be fought spiritually. You will go through heavy spiritual warfare, because the more you learn in the spiritual space, I actually want to do an episode. We'll get into it. The more you learn in the spiritual space, the more dangerous you become. And the more dangerous you become to the enemy, the more he will try and bring you down. And the one way that he has learned, free secret, guys, the one way the enemy has learned to break a human being down is through the mind. And the one way that God equipped us, always urging us to not be broken down by the enemy, is through reading the Bible. And what does that do? It renews your mind, because you need to be renewed every day. The devil will always find things to attack you with. And when he finds those things to attack you with, you have to make sure that you renewed your strength. Because each day comes with different struggles and different attacks. And therefore, that is why you constantly have to be in renewal mode, renewal mindset. Mad business. So yes, black sheeps are always spiritual. And they're the ones that are holding it down for the family. You are basically breaking, you are deciding that I'm going to be the one to break the generational curses. You don't even know what they are. That's, the thing about generational curses, you don't know what it is, or bloodline curses, strongholds. You don't know what you're fighting against, but you're saying, I'm the one, I'm placing myself, I'm standing in position to be able to break this, so that moving forward, I may not be able to benefit from it, but the generations to come and my kids, that's the way I'm seeing it. My kids, which is the next generation, and the next generation after my kids, will be able to benefit from it. But these are things, the other thing about spirituality, you can't just openly say it. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing this for you. Okay, you're doing it, then what? You know what I mean? In the physical world, in this world, if you're not bringing something tangible, to solve a problem, which is usually through money, what are you solving? What are you bringing to the table? I honestly wished I lived in a different world, to be quite honest. Yeah. I really wish I would have lived in a different world. When you're feeling like nobody, that tension that you feel, that's the space where purpose is forged. That's the fire that makes your oil costly. That's the fire that makes your oil costly. Get it? Okay. That's where your intimacy with God is deepened. When you're isolated. You're not just isolated because there's nothing that relates you, connects you to them except blood, obviously, and them being your family. But on top of feeling that lonely, you actually go through being lonely, because the things that you're going through, they will not understand them. So yeah, lonely 2 times. And most times it also extends to relationships, You either you go into relationships that don't last, or when you are in a relationship, that relationship is heavily attacked. Heavily attacked. Yeah. Now, when the world underrates what heaven has called, what do? God has created you for a reason. And you're going through all these trials and tribulations, all these tests, so you can get to your testimony. What do you do when the world, the place that you're wanting to help, same thing with Jesus. The people that he is helping are the very people that crucified him. You know, this is why I say I don't want to be. Now, if it was up to me, I would really not be here. Hey, honestly, I really wouldn't. Because what? The very people that you're working towards helping are the very people that will crucify you. Damn. It's hard when the world sees you as a just the helper. And I've acknowledged, I've accepted, I'm just the helper. You see, I'm just the helper. And I keep saying to myself, even when I have the money, I want to be treated like just the helper. Don't treat me differently because I have money now. Treat me like just the help. And I think another strong a power that I have is I can't pretend, guys. I can't pretend for nothing. Like if I don't like you, I don't like you, hey. And my mom always says, you know, my child, you can't even try to like somebody. You can't even pretend. And that's something that I actually like about you, that you don't smile with a person if you don't want to smile with them. I really don't, guys. I don't if I don't like you, I don't like you. It's straightforward. And it's not something that I'm saying pridefully. No. I'm saying this to say I can't pretend. Because this world is so pretentious. People are so pretentious. I think that's the other reason why I despise pretense so much, is because we are so pretentious as people. We'll pretend like we like one another, we love one another, but go behind the other person's back and talk nonsense. So I'm not the person to go behind your back and I'll tell it to your face. I really will. I'd rather have it that way as compared to me having to go tell somebody else how I truly feel about you. No. Then now we're really being hypocrites. We really are. If you're like that, you're being a hypocrite. This is not to call you out, but if you're that type of person, get off this channel also. Yeah, you're just the girl or the boy who stays home. You're just the one without a real job. You know what I mean? You're just the one who's always available because they assume your dreams are on pause, you know? But don't let that blindness make you question what you know God is doing. One of my ears is blocked. Don't let that blindness make you question what you know God is doing. Even if you're the only one that knows it, that's enough. It's enough. And you'll try by all means to make it look important or try and share it with other people so that they can see the importance of what you're doing or the significance of yourself and who you are, because it will get to points where you don't see yourself as important. And you'll try by all means to make yourself look important. Don't do that to yourself. If God knows, that's important. If it's you and God that know, it's important, because at the end of the day, guys, we're all going to die. And when we die, who are you going to be questionable? Who are you going to be answerable to? Him, not the person, the people that you are trying to impress. No. Not even your own father or mother. Not even your own earthly father or mother. God. You may be hidden now. This is very powerful. You may be hidden now, but hidden does not mean forgotten. God is refining you, building capacity in you, preparing you. And when he lifts you up, it won't be for show. And it's never usually for show, guys. Like, it'll be for impact. It will be for what? Impact. It'll get to the point where you even yourself will not see that it's for show. Look at that light. There's a light. The thing is reflecting on me. Thank you, God. It won't be for show. It'll literally be you yourself. You won't even be seeing it for, now is my time. I'm going to show you. You're going to be on a different level altogether. Maybe the external people will see it as if it's for show, but with you, it's going to be for impact. To the one who feels like a burden, I'm speaking to you. You're here because you probably feel you are a black sheep and you feel so lost, incapable, unvaluable, overlooked. You're not. You're not. You are not. To the one who feels like the black sheep, you're not a burden. You're not being built. You are being built, sorry. And just because they can't see your value yet, doesn't mean you don't have any. You're not hidden. You're not cursed. I know that some family members will tell you, you are bewitched. You are cursed. You're not. You're not cursed. And most importantly, you're not lazy. I was telling you, I was literally just saying this. You are not lazy. You're in the process. A divine one, not a worldly one. Guys, there's a difference, by the way. There's a difference between being the worldly process or being seen as the world, being seen as successful in through the world's eyes. And then there's the divine one. And this one, the worldly one, is enough to make you feel like this one, the divine, the spiritual one, is not important. It's enough to make you feel like that. It's enough to make you feel that way. But no, it's not like that. It's not like that. And a lot of the success that we see in people is through the worldly one. And we think that's how I actually want to end up. That's what a lot of young people are aspiring towards, this worldly success. The one that's stretching your faith and building your spiritual muscle. You're building spiritual muscle. Black sheeps are hella strong, guys. Never underestimate them. They're so strong. And they're usually the firstborns. I'm a firstborn. For my parents, rather. God sees you. He sees you. He honors your heart. And he's writing a story through your life that will one day silence every assumption. Long suffering. You've suffered. And you may continue to suffer. But one day, the suffering is going to come to an end. Those things that people were saying about you. Oh yeah, and then the other thing about black sheeps. You glow. Even when you're going through the most. There's that thing about you that, funny enough, the people that are going through life proper, when you are in close relationship with the black sheep, you'll find yourself, tell me if this is true about the people around you or any close person that's in your life. They will literally ask you, how do you do it? Or most times they will literally be in awe of how you navigate things, because they feel that if they were in that very position, especially if they truly know what's happening in your life, they feel that if they were in the position that you're in, they would not have survived. They would not be so graceful. They even think that you probably are operating through magic. They probably think you're operating through magic, because most of the challenges that you're going through, even though there's no solution for them, the solution always comes one way or the other. It always comes. And it's not even something they even feel like it's something that they wouldn't, like the solution was not to come from anywhere, but out, and then it came. You were in the situation, there was no way out, and then God did his thing and the solution came. And when people see it from the outside, they're just like, you are probably superhuman. In as much as we don't have the financial capacity to do things, our grace. And one thing I will urge you, please, no matter how angry you get through the challenges that you go through, never, ever ask Never ever be so angry to the point where God he removes his grace from your life. That's one thing you don't want. Rather, you go through the long suffering and you continue to have God's grace on your life. God's hand. God's grace in your life. Rather have that. So for now, please keep praying, keep building, keep dreaming, keep becoming, keep going through those tests, because your testimony is way bigger than yourself. And most times, whatever it is that you're going through as a black sheep is not just for yourself, it's for others as well. Because we can never do things for ourselves. Even though we are labeled as selfish, even though we are labeled as we are difficult or all of this, it's never just for us. Because God will not. He never did things just for himself. He loved us so much that he gave his only child. So if it means you having to suffer, you having to be called these names, you having to be labeled and placed all these assumptions and being overlooked and being undermined, all these things, let it be, because it's not just for yourself. It's for those very people that are even labeling you as disrespectful, difficult, selfish, and the ones who are overlooking you and undermining you. It's even for them. So pray so that you are not angry with them. So that when God finally writes his story and it's your time, and it's time where God's like, now you're ready, you don't have that anger towards them. Oh, that's the one thing that I pray for all the time. Not have anger towards the people that literally labeled me and placed all these things, especially my parents. The black sheep often turns out to be the shepherd. Plot twist. You are the shepherd. You go from being the sheep, or rather, what is assumed as the black sheep, the one that's singled out, the one that cannot do anything, the one that cannot be worked with, and you are your own kind, to being the one that actually, the one that shepherds everyone. And when the time is right, you'll realize they will realize the one they overlooked was holding more than they ever knew. And it's not within their capacity to know it, because they will not understand it. They won't even be able to fathom it. If you were to explain half of the things or share half of the things that you're going through right now, they would not be able to. When my baby passed away, my mom literally said to me, I said to her, it's so painful. Like, I jokingly said, I know. This is not it. This is not on. Losing a kid is not on. My mom said to me, yeah, the devil attacks the strongest. I'm like, what? In as much as that felt so insensitive in that moment, because I really felt like, why would you say something like that? In as much as it felt so insensitive, it was the truth. I'm here kneeling, praying for everyone in this family, breaking curses, doing all these things. So why wouldn't the devil want to attack me? I'm not operating from a place of ignorance or taking things lightly. If anything, I'm the devil's enemy. I threaten him because I allow myself to be used by God. And now he thought that he was going to break me by taking what is precious. But he doesn't understand that he didn't take. He didn't take anything, because my baby's here. And will continue to remain with me. Remain with his father. So when things are happening to you, things that were ultimately meant to break you and shatter you to the point of no return, that's him trying to derail you, trying to stop you, because he knows that if you continue to go, the enemy knows that if you continue to move forward, there's no going back, and there's nothing that he's going to be able to do. So please, keep going. The people, the assumptions, the labeling, those are the things that the enemy does to derail you, but there's nothing that he can do. Those are just people. That's not even the important. That's not important. You get to a point where you realize it's not important anymore. What people say is not important. What people say about you is not important. If anything, the more they talk, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, please continue to talk, because it's showing me that you guys are interested in my life, but you don't even have the guts to come to me and talk and ask me about it. You can't ask me, because I will shoot straight. Who informed you? I heard her 1, 2, 3. Who informed you? Go consult the person that informed you. They will help you, because Mina, I never came to you and I never told you that. So I'm not going to explain myself if I did not come to you, despite you being an elder. And if we're being honest, yes, the Bible does say we should respect our elders. But it also says we should honor our mother and father. Respecting elders is more so a societal tradition, which is exceptional because you are not stepping on anybody's toes and you're being graceful in you're acknowledging, our elders, and they need to be acknowledged. They need to be respected. But it doesn't mean when now they start doing their thing, because elders can be elders and they can just go left. It doesn't mean you can't call them out on it. Don't do it in a very harsh, disrespectful way. You can have a conversation. Have a conversation. But please be very aware that the people is part of the process. The labeling is part of the process and is not meant to distract you or move you or derail you. At least, even if it's meant to do that, if it's the enemy's aim to do that, it shouldn't do that. Platforms like this, spaces like this channel is specifically created for people like you. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. If you're the black sheep, I'd love to hear about your experience. Share it with someone who needs to know that they're not alone. This is to share with you guys so that you don't feel like you're alone. And remember, your story matters, even when no one is clapping. Even if your siblings are getting all the claps, it's okay. At least you can do what you're doing for the sake of them. Your becoming is happening. So stay rooted, stay rising. See you next time.